My name is Patrick Whitehead. I'm the winemaker. I'm one of the owners here at Blue Ostrich Winery and Vineyard. We're located just north of a small town called St. Joe, Texas, outside the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
I'm Presley Whitehead Davies. I manage vineyard and winery operations here. That's just a day-to-day kind of stuff going on here. It's working in the cellar, moving wine around from tank to tank, and it's pruning grapevines and spraying the vineyard on the tractor, a little bit of everything.
We're a third-generation ranching and farming operation here in Cook County, Texas. My wife's father started ranching up here about 50 years ago, and we planted the vineyard 10 years ago. While we've raised cattle out here for many years, there was some time ago we started raising ostrich, and that's where our name comes from. This is what used to be a working ostrich ranch. We don't raise ostrich anymore, we raise grapes, but we still have a few ostrich here. You can come and see them. Presley's my youngest daughter. She started working with us about 8 years ago full-time. She's been part of our operation ever since we began in 2010.
We have about 8 acres planted here. I say that 2021 was a little bit rough. We had a very hard freeze, as a lot of people know, in February, and we actually lost about 4 acres that we're pulling out right now. Currently, we have about 4 acres under cultivation. We grow Viognier, Cabernet, and Tempranillo. We sit in a really cool area of Texas. It's a really small microclimate. We're about 3 miles south of the Red River. It's beautiful out here, lots of rolling hills, gorgeous topography, and we're in this Red River Valley. We sit on this hilltop that kind of looks down over our vineyard. It's a very unique place to grow grapes. It's beautiful. It also has its challenges. We get lots of foggy, dewy mornings. We get showers of rain weekly, almost daily sometimes during the growing season. Where we sit, we have about 2 or 3 different soil types just within our vineyard. Again, being in this valley makes a really unique place for growing. Therefore, our terroir is very unique. Our Viognier tastes unlike any other. In fact, our 2017 Viognier from this vineyard won best in class, at San Francisco International Wine Competition in California. People often wonder, I go to one tasting room and taste a Viognier, and I'm going to go to another one that's 30 miles down the road and see another Viognier on the menu. You know, how is that different? I mean, it matters. It definitely matters. And it's not saying that one's better than the other, but they're just different. We're proud of ours and proud of what Texas is growing as well. People often wonder why any grape might taste different from winery to winery, continent to continent. I mean, it's all about where it's grown and what that gives the wine ultimately. The French really summed it up with the word terroir, which means, you know, like a sense of place. For us, it means where it's grown, it's the climate we're in, it's the type of soil, it's how you tend your vines too. I mean, we prune our Viognier different than we do other vines in our vineyards. Ultimately, that all comes together to make a very unique wine.
There's an interesting dance that the winemaker and the grape grower do every year when we get closer and closer to deciding when's the right time to pick the grape. A lot of times the winemaker wants to see it hang out there a little bit longer, get those sugars up, which are going to impact, obviously the alcohol level as well as the flavor profile. And the grape grower, the person tending the vineyards, sometimes getting a little edgy and ready to get them off. There could be a storm coming or feel like it's time to pick them. It really gets interesting when it's your daughter you're having that discussion with. Sometimes we go toe to toe on that, but ultimately we work together to try and make the best decision on when to pick the fruit.
Hello everybody, welcome to Farmhouse Vineyards. I'm Anthony Ferguson, this is my wife Tracy Ferguson.
I'm Katie Jane Seaton, my husband Nicholas. We are what people know as the Farmhouse Four. They are a brother-sister combo. We like to say Anthony and I are the spicy spouses. We are Farmhouse Vineyards. This particular tasting room in the Texas High Plains sits on a 22-acre vineyard. We welcome people always to a home or a house. Our tasting rooms are located in houses, so you can feel like you're having wine with us. And then our tasting room in Johnson City, same, located right there on the Highway 290 in a house. But it's also famous because when we just started out of an Airstream exclusively, our Tipsy trailer.
We've been growing grapes for about 12 years now. Behind us right here is Cinsault that we planted in 2016. Altogether, we farm about 21 different varieties of grapes, and we are up to 118 acres currently. We would like to expand that going forward. We've tried a lot of different things to bring diversification to our farming along with the grapes. Me and Nick really spend most of our times out in the field, and the girls spend most of their time marketing and trying to drive people to the tasting rooms. This is all we do. We quickly realized that adding wine to the table would enable us to create vertical integration. It would teach us to be better growers, and it also gave us another option to sell fruit in that form or fashion. But we did start off as growers in the first place, and it just kind of naturally evolved its way into making wine.
This is who we are. Combined, we are 8 generations worth of farm families, and the dirt, the soil, terroir, call it what you will, it's our everything. And we grow fruit for the top 20 wineries in Texas.
One of the many benefits of growing grapes on the high plains is we have really low humidity, and our average rainfall is relatively pretty low. We don't have a lot of disease pressure that gives us complications with grapes. What we use this machine for is to treat the vines, to keep them healthy. We have to make foliar applications for fertility, so we'll use foliar feeds, and we'll also put out fungicide. We are making this application to treat for fungus pressure and disease pressure, so that down the road the vines stay clean and healthy, and actually prevents us from having to use more chemical and more fungicide down the road.
We're in our lab here at the Blue Ostrich. It's not a very big lab. It's right next to our wine cellar. Depending on the size of the winery, your lab equipment could be extensive or it could be, pretty modest like ours. Today we're using an instrument called an ebullimeter. It's used for determining the alcohol content of the wine, which is important for a lot of reasons. You don't want to overdo it on wine. Too high of an alcohol content could be perceived as a fault. And we also don't want people drinking for the wrong reasons. And the other thing is it's important from a regulatory standpoint. It has to go on your label, and you have to be able to prove to agencies like the TTB or the TABC that you have tested it and you understand what the alcohol level is. The first thing we're going to do, though, is we're going to boil some water to determine actually what the boiling point is today. We do everything on the centigrade scale, so boiling is 100 degrees, but in reality it may not be 100 right on the nose. It might be 99.5, what have you, and we want to be as accurate as we can be. And it looks like today our water's boiling at 95.6. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to boil some wine. When you boil wine, it's much like distilling spirits. The first thing that's going to go up, even before the water, is going to be the alcohol. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen. So we use this cooling chamber to make sure that the alcohol remains in there and gives us a chance to boil this and to help us determine what the alcohol content is. This is the old school way of determining alcohol content. There are more advanced methods and more advanced equipment, but this is very traditional, and this is how we do it here at Blue Ostrich. So looking at our digital readout, it comes out right at about 87 centigrade. I make the comparison on our little chart here, and it shows that our alcohol by volume on this red wine is coming in at about 13.8%. That's where we more or less targeted as we made the wine, so we're pretty happy with that result. And for a dry red wine, somewhere between 14.5%, that's kind of the sweet spot for us. So we're pretty happy with our results. This wine that we actually tested today is a very exciting wine for us. The name of the wine is Factum, and that's Latin for accomplishment or achievement. And we are releasing this wine as part of our 10th anniversary celebration later this year.
Harvest is upon us, and it's about that time where Patrick and I and our team come out and clean all our equipment. It's been sitting in storage for the winter, so this is our crusher destemmer here, and we're washing it down today. When we harvest grapes, we like to destem them before they go to press. We'll destem them, crush them, and they'll go to their fermentation process. Here we have this barrel, and it rotates one way when you turn it on, and then the beater bars inside rotate the other way. And so it's kind of beating up the grapes, popping them off the stems, and then taking them down into the crusher. And the stems get pushed out this side. It's called the rachis. We collect that and we actually feed it to our cows. We say that we have the happiest cows in Cook County.